Welcome to Three Takes. I'm Ishana.
I'm Minali.
I'm Mona.
Three women.
Three generations.
One family, unpacking the questions we all ask.
Hey girls, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm excited, but I'm also in a sea of emotions right now. I'm graduating in 2 days from my MBA graduation, but I also just got my new start date for my job in consulting, which is going to be in the fall. But just having a little bit of anxiety in terms of when I start my new job, how I'm going to balance all these passion projects and side extracurriculars that really give me meaning once I start my new job.
So first of all, Ishana, that's really exciting that you heard your starting date. A lot of exciting things are happening. You are about to graduate and you already know your start date.
Yeah, especially in this job market. At least, you have a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So why are you feeling that, Ishana?
I think for me, when I think about work and then also finding meaning, the two seem polar opposites for me personally. But I do feel like the work that I do should have meaning and purpose every day, and I'm not really able to see or visualize that yet.
I think that's kind of where maybe some of our generational differences come into play. That's a good question to tackle together, I think. Like, does work need to be meaningful? And it sounds like, Ishana, for you, it does. So maybe we should explore a little bit more. Like, what are some of these other, side projects that you're really passionate about that give you meaning? Like, how do you define meaningful?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think for me, some of those side projects that really give me meaning, fitness, well-being, mindfulness is really important to me, and having that part of my routine every day is pretty critical, as well as traveling. Having dinner with my fiance every night is something that is our catch-up time. And I'm a little bit fearful when I start consulting, when I'm traveling, my hours are unknown. How do I incorporate that? Because otherwise it doesn't really feel like a meaningful place to work.
Are you talking about meaning or are you talking about balancing? That you find the meaning in work if you are able to do all these other things of your life, like for example, doing the fitness or, making sure you are able to have dinner with your fiancé. Mm-hmm. How do you define meaningful?
I guess that's a good point. Maybe I'm thinking more about balance as opposed to meaning. But I think when it comes to actual meaning, the work that I want to be doing is something that is positively impacting people. And as a result, that positively impacts myself. And to me, I feel like I need that every day in order to continue to do the work that I'm doing. But I don't know, do you guys think differently in terms of how work needs to be meaningful?
I kind of see it twofold. Like early on, sort of right after college graduation, I did feel like my work that I was doing, I wanted to do greater good. And being in medicine, that is an inherent part of the job because it is service. But I will say, as I've gone through medical training and I'm in my last couple of months of training, I think how I find meaning in medicine has evolved. For me, just patient care is not enough for me to find meaning. As much as a high impact I can have, seeing patients day to day, I know if that's the only part of medicine that I did, just seeing patients 5 days a week in clinic, I'll get burned out. So I also incorporate writing, educational projects, other research things throughout my work week. And I think having that balance of other things does help me find work more meaningful. But I guess that's changed with time.
I think that's kind of what I'm alluding to a little bit with some of the fear and anxiety is there's a lot of things outside of work that make me internally feel good and purposeful. And it's how do I incorporate that meaning in my work or generate those same feelings when I'm there?
And I also think that meaning also change over the period of time. So for example, right now, me as a business coach. I only find meaning when I help organization and build team, when people can really flourish, because it aligns with my value of growth for me and others. So, when I work with organization and leaders who only care about the results, not the growth of others, I don't find it meaningful. Or sometimes I don't even take those projects, but it doesn't align with my value of growth. But at earlier stage of my life, when you were young, for me, stability I was able to find more meaning, because I wanted to have a more structure and life where I have more stability.
So when you talk about stability, is that like because you and our dad had moved to this country and like financial stability was what's important? Do you mean stability in terms of having balance between raising us and managing work? What do you really mean by that being the priority?
Yeah, so Minali and Ishana, before you both were born, for us, yeah, stability was the most important thing, because we came with no money, right? So we have to build from the scratch. So what was more important, that somebody gives us a job where we can really stay there. That was the most important thing. That time, even what the salary we got, we were okay with it. Or what kind of projects we got, we were okay with that. So, that time thinking about if I find the work purposeful was not even a question.
Yeah.
The question was having a job, the financial stability.
Yeah.
But when you both were born, the financial stability was a little bit better. What was important is balancing and the routine. The growth has always been my priority, but the percentage of my growth was a little bit less, because I knew that I did not want to travel all the time. I was okay with, I want to grow 100%. I was okay to grow 60%.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think is somewhat changed, I think, between the millennial and Gen Z generation, where I think now so many of us are involved in multiple things, where as it seems like for you, Mama and our dad and maybe other people your age, not everyone, you woke up, you went to work, you took care of your family, and that was kind of the day-to-day. Whereas now, I think for us, it's very important for us to kind of spread our wings and be very versatile in the things that we do. And so as a effect of that, it's finding the balance and meaning across all these things that we do.
If we're talking about work, it has to be meaningful. If you can have a really good job which pays good, you have a balanced life, but really don't really like the work what you do. So for example, I can tell you, there was a time when I wanted to become a software developer. So I did all the programming courses and I got a job in a programming, and they paid well. It was balanced, but I hated developing and writing the codes. So even after that, I didn't find the meaning. Although that particular software we were developing and I was part of the project had a significant impact.
It seems like for a lot of us, financial security is somewhat compromised for meaning, because that is something that's important to all of us. I mean, even for me, as I come out with like no income for the past 2 years, I'm doing consulting to also build financial stability, where I think there will be some sacrifice on not finding meaning every single day.
I think financial security and financial independence doesn't necessarily misalign with meaningful or fulfillment. I think people can find fulfillment in building that financial security, right? And I also think it depends on the phase of life that you're in. Like, for example, where Rahul and I are at is, like, we're thinking about growing a family now, right? Like, we finished our medical training. We're going to have enough financial security, one, to be able to kind of support a child. And then two, our working hours aren't going to be as much. So we'll actually have time. When we're thinking about that, though, I will say, like, we're trying to figure out, where do we want to practice long term? There's a huge salary difference between staying in academics versus private practice. You make a lot more in private practice, but then that means you're spending more time like in the clinic, right? Facing patients, as opposed to doing like research or educational projects. So I do think what phase of life you're in matters when it comes to finding meaningfulness in work versus non-work.
And Rahul is Minali's husband.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mama, back to your point, especially because you've built your career over a long time and then also ultimately became an entrepreneur, which there's a financial risk to that, right? Because you don't know if it's going to work out or not. But then it's like, how did you in your software role push forward? Like, did you know that at some point you're going to have meaning? Like, how do you stick through it? Because I think I'm struggling with right now of like, how am I going to get through every single day if it's not necessarily giving me meaning?
So I was in a role of a software developer. I really didn't enjoy the project as much, but what I really liked about the connection, my team. And I have a really strong mentor over there. He was able to make even my dull job meaningful. So sometimes not necessarily what you are doing, but the team around you or the growth, because I was really able to learn a lot there. And it even eventually helped with my software business when I started. So I thought that was a temporary phase of my life where I was able to make good money. I had a good working hours. I did not enjoy the coding, but it was able to help me with the growth and the connection, the people I met.
I do think also like some people take jobs that they know are going to be intermediary, right? Like there's an end goal in sight, or they know it's only going to be short term. For example, there's a lot of experiences that med school kind of assumes, not requires per se, but people will do shadowing, people will be a scribe, people will be medical assistants. In my case, I remember I was a receptionist for this place called Hospitality House in Charlotte, where basically like patients' families stayed. So I helped check them in. That job in and of itself was not fun and I would say like meaningful, but I knew that it could be an experience where at least I'm patient facing in some way, like I'm interacting with their families. And that was just an added experience I could have for like med school down the line and when I wanted to ultimately do my job now, which is being a physician. So I do think like sometimes having long-term goals in mind can be helpful when you're taking on a job, especially when you're first entering the workforce. You may not have your dream job right away.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Minali. Like for me, I had started as a bank teller and I was going to the school that time as well. And I knew that and that I wanted to do something different. But as a bank teller, I learned a lot because I met the customers so much. I really learned how to understand them, how to communicate with them. And I think I also realized in my bank teller job that I'm a people person. I want a job where I have a interaction with people.
I guess, Ishana, why do you feel like you have to have the work itself be meaningful? Like, do you think that's just like your generational thing or?
I think it's partially my generation, but I also do think it's like we work the majority of our life. Like, if you think about like the hours you spend working versus non-working, like it takes up the majority of your day. So for me, I find it like so hard to like get through the days that are like 12 to 15 hours long if you are like not having any meaning. But I think one thing through what the both of you are saying that is shifting my mindset a little bit is that the specific task that I'm doing does not necessarily need to be meaningful, but thinking a little bit broader in terms of, are the people I'm working with encouraging me, helping me grow? Am I able to form a relationship with them? Is the client I'm working with seeing some sort of benefit through the work that I'm doing? That can help me reframe some of that meaning by not being so narrowly focused on me, and what exactly am I doing, but what is the impact of what I'm doing?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. Like, I would say if it's a combination of the work itself is dull and it's just a drag to get to work day to day, plus it's not a healthy, supportive work environment, then it's like, what is really the point of this job? Like, you know, maybe it is time to move on to another place. But if you have one of those things, then it's fine. Like, we all should be willing to compromise in some aspect of the job, right? Like even day to day for me, it's like as a physician, like my favorite part is just spending time with the patients, hearing their stories, right? What I don't love is documentation, billing, talking to insurance companies, all this like administrative BS that is part of the job, right? But it's for patient advocacy in a way. So
Yeah.
there's trade-offs.
And I guess, like, Mama, for you, because I'm thinking about a lot of the managers or partners that I would be reporting to probably have similar experience to you or are somewhat your age. How can I, as someone just graduating school, reporting to you, how do I communicate, like, the way that I work, what gives me meaning in a way that you can then help me get that or achieve that growth?
As a business coach, I hear this all the time. So what I would suggest, Ishana, it's okay to have an open communication. It's okay to ask questions. The more questions you ask, the better it is. So asking your manager, okay, we got this project. What does it mean for the client? What does it mean for our company? What does it mean for our team, right? Because you will be spending a lot of time in that. So you can really express that the more you know, the better you will be able to deliver. The better of yourself they will be able to see, right? So I think asking those questions is really important because the more you know, the more you will be able to have an impact. The more you will be able to help client grow. The more you will be able to grow yourself or the team. So all those things falls very naturally.
Yeah. And I think that also brings up the good point of, as I ask those questions, I can also tell if it's the opposite, if what my values of meaning are not aligning. Like, it's not necessarily just what is the impact and tell me what the meaning is, but it can also help me, I think, over time be like, I think I'm slowly starting to diffuse away from how the company is defining meaning versus what it means to me. Because to your guys' point, it changes over time.
I do also think, and like this is just an observation that I've had, is I don't really think like loyalty is a core value for a lot of people, maybe Gen Z. I can speak to some millennials too. Like if there's a bigger, better opportunity, like people will go for it as opposed to just like sticking with the company for the sake of sticking with the company. But I do feel like, Mama, correct me if I'm wrong, like I do feel like a lot of people in your generation like really value commitment and loyalty. And do you feel like that's had to shift a little bit now that there's a new generation in the workforce?
Yeah. Before I answer that, let me really, for my perspective, my meaningfulness of the work might have changed, but my values were the same. So having the alignment with values was always important for me. So for example, this loyalty might be important for me at the beginning of my career at that time because I grew up learning about that or the commitment. But over the period of time, it might have changed. The freedom and the impact and growth become, more. So I always have values of integrity, freedom, impact, growth, loyalty, stability, connection, and, balance. But different stages of my life, something took priority over the others. It didn't mean that I compromised with my other values. Just in a given situation and the stage of my life, some of the other priorities got top 3, something become lower, in the bottom percentile.
Well, you help companies build and try to recruit. So I'm very curious, like what are some conversations like you have had, Mama, like with people because who are trying to recruit like Gen Zers, right? Like, are they trying to incentivize them in different ways to like stay on?
That's a good question. So we definitely, help. I help as a lot of those organizations with the talent. And not every single, but as a common theme, I did notice that the Gen Zs, like Ishana's age group, they do value the freedom, impact, and authenticity. What they do matters. But they also want to have time for their mental health and for their fitness. And we get asked a lot of that questions. And corporations and the business companies are trying to incorporate that. Where Minali's, a lot of your age people, I do say they are looking more for balanced life because they are growing their family or connection or purpose, especially juggling and demanding career thing. And a lot of my age people. Like for me, right now, legacy, growth, and contribution is more important. So when we are hiring those kind of people, we see all different kind of questions. So as a society, the corporation and the businesses have to incorporate what matters to your hire. Doesn't matter which generation they are.
I actually listened to an interview recently with Emma Grady, she's like a fashion businesswoman. She owns Good America and a lot of other fashion companies. And she said the least favorite question she gets when she's hiring someone is like, tell me about work-life balance. Like, how can I find work-life balance in this company? And what she was saying as the CEO is really work-life balance is not my problem. Like, it's not the employer's problem. It's the employee's problem. Like, figuring out how to do what you want to do within the workday. Like, you work hard when you get into work, and then the rest of your life, like, it's sort of up to you. And I think that is kind of an unpopular opinion.
I was going to say, I do not like that response because, like, if work is making you work nonstop, like, how the heck am I going to find time to do my, like, 45-minute workout or find mindfulness when I'm, like, traveling all around? Like, I don't think it's solely the employer's responsibility, but the employer needs to allow the space and the time for that to happen, and how that time is used is up to the employee.
Yeah, I think like basically what it gets down to is like, is there flexibility within the workday to do non-work? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that
yeah, and I
think
this goes back to like something we talked about at the beginning, where I think Mama asked a good question of, am I talking about balance or am I talking about meaning? And I think through this conversation, I'm thinking a little bit about my generation as well. I think it's somewhat intertwined, because I think things that give me balance also create meaning, because I'm doing things for myself. I'm maybe doing things for other people. So I think it's somewhat intertwined. And I do think there's a responsibility that employers have to allow that to happen.
Yeah, and I think you need to find, Ishana, meaning in the journey itself also. Like, don't think, okay, this is it. If I don't find it today, that's it, I'm done. I cannot do it. I think you have to think to reach to a destination or what the goal you want to achieve, what kind of path you will have to walk on.
Yeah.
It's just like when you were running the marathon. It's not the first day you said, okay, I'm going to do 20 miles just to start with, right? You have to start slowly.
Yeah, and I think my generation, for me personally, like resiliency is something that we have to build over time. I think we're so used to like switching things up all the time that then when we get put in uncomfortability or uncertainty, we're like, okay, let's move on to the next thing so that we don't necessarily have to deal with it. And I think if we are just like moving around so much, we don't even give the space to like find meaning on that journey.
Yeah. And I think asking the question to yourself that where in your life right now and what is the values, which top 3 values align with you the most? And if you have to compromise one of them, how would it make you feel, right? Mm-hmm. And which one you really want to show up in your daily work? So I think asking those questions to yourself is also important, because organization or the leaders, when you talk, they can tell you all about the projects, but unless you ask the question to yourself, you will not find the answer.
I guess like as we think about this conversation, has your guys' definition of meaning changed, or is it the same?
Mine has changed, but I think similar to what Mama was saying, my core values have not. I do have a list of core career values, like some of which include like a place that values my creativity, right? Like I like writing, I like storytelling. So a place that values that creativity, a place that is family oriented, understanding that people have families and lives, but then also at the same time, like a place that values teaching, et cetera. Like there's different core career values I have. Those haven't really changed, but I guess my focus has changed. So I would say immediately after college and even during med school, career was everything. I mean, I was staying at home with the parents for 2 of my years in medical school because I happened to do rotations in Charlotte where our home is. So I didn't have to worry about cooking. I didn't have to worry about laundry. I didn't have to really worry about even taking care of myself. I could just focus on my career. And so I did. Like, I remember rotating in the ED, like just for fun, just to like gain more hands-on patient care experience. But that's not something that I think I need or value now. I've worked so much in residency that it's like now like part of my priority is nurturing relationships. And that doesn't have anything to do with work per se, but I do find meaning in like nurturing my friendships, my relationship with my husband, as we think about the future and like growing our family. Like I do think where I am finding meaning and where I am focusing on in my life has changed.
For me, I can also say that over the time, what and how I find the work to be meaningful has changed, but my values has not changed. So yes, I agree. For me, it has changed over the period of time.
For me, like, honestly, I didn't even think about meaning when I was in college. I didn't quite know what it meant. I thought it was more like either I like my job or I don't like my job. I think now, after being in grad school, taking a bunch of classes, navigating what I want to do in the next couple years, I've realized that some of my top values right now are Eudaimonia, which is balance, achievement.
A what?
Eudaimonia. It's basically like well-being. It's a pretty big word. Like
okay, it's a big word I've never heard of.
It basically just means like fun, well-being, like exploring in life, and it's like the number one common value in Gen Z.
Interesting.
But then also family centrism, which is just being very close to family, and then achievement. So having high standards for myself. And sometimes those can all clash. But I think right now where I'm at in my stage is prioritize building a toolkit and a network and learning from smart people so that I can ultimately start my own business and a career. And so I think right now I'm trying to reframe meaning to be like, it's not going to be every single day, but if you take a step back, there will be meaning because it's going to help you get to the next stage. My takeaway is to not have this narrow lens when it comes to meaning. It's not going to be roses and butterflies every day. That's not the reality. But finding people is important because they can help you drive meaning. And then also people who can help you grow into what ultimately does give me meaning is something that I can work towards as I start my career.
One of the things that Mama was saying that stuck with me that I just haven't been able to articulate until now is having core career values and understanding that there can be flexibility on how you prioritize them throughout different phases of life.
And I think for me, what Ishana was saying, that in her generation, the work has to be meaningful, like more like every day, sort of. So it made me think from a different perspective.
And what was that word you used? Anhedonia?
Yeah, I can't even say that.
Eudaimonia.
Okay. Eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia.
Okay, yeah.
That's the word of the day.
Thanks for joining us on 3 Takes. If something we shared sparked a new thought or opened up a conversation with someone you love, we want to hear about it. DM us on Instagram at 3.takes, email us at connect@3takes.com, or visit us at www.3takes.com. And if this episode meant something to you, share it with another mother, daughter, or sister in your life. It's how we grow and keep the stories moving.
Yes, for me, the meaning of the work has been edited. So yes, I agree. For me, it has changed over the period of time. You said it to be brief, right?
But like, I know, because I think your things, like, you've actually mentioned it a couple times because you've talked about how, like,
Yeah, so I don't.
So I'm trying to think of like what you can.
Yeah, so I don't have to say that. I don't have to say it. You can go to the next one.